All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another trade recap. Going over the exact trade I took today, which netted me around $2,200 in, I believe, 1 to 2 minutes. And this is the exact same trade recap trade style as all my other trading content. Pretty much, let's go with explaining the trade on the day, showing you guys the recap, the whole P&L itself. If trade syncer will load, there you go. Around $750 across every single account right over here. And pretty much, let's just go into the recap of the top down on the day. So this was pre-market right over here around 9:30 a.m. It was really clear to me that obviously we are extremely bullish since the day before. So Tuesday, we end up tapping into a weekly gap, as you see right over here. We had a really strong draw yesterday. We were extremely short biased, and I took a trade to pass my set of evals. And it was pretty much just shorting into this massive weekly gap. I think it was pretty obvious also too that since we are extremely bullish, it does really make sense for us to tap into this massive price imbalance, hold it, and start flipping higher. So that was the entire bias into the day. Again, it doesn't make sense to really take any shorts, as what do we see all through overnight session as well? Overnight ended up displacing lower right around that 8 p.m. So right as overnight session started, Asia session started, we obviously displaced higher. We ripped about 365 points to the upside. So I'm following the trend. It is clearly that we are trending bullish. I don't want to trade against the trend unless something is obviously shown to me, unless I had some fucking massive close that closed like right down here. If we had like some 180 point close, maybe shorts in this case would make sense, but no, it does not really make sense to short as we obviously have the trend with us. Next thing I go into is looking for my condition. On the hourly, we have this unmitigated hourly gap right over here. So I was simply just looking for us to, you know, can I pull out the path? All I was simply looking for was price to hold this gap right over here, chop around, and start looking for higher price. And obviously with the bullish trend, we obviously do have targets higher. We had this high right over here. We left at 7 a.m. We had hourly wicks high right over here and another wick on top as well. ES also did have a daily gap right around that last level, I believe. Let's go to the daily time frame. Yeah, so ES had this daily gap. So obviously higher draws did make sense. We had really good draw on liquidities higher. So pretty much after that, we have our condition. We had everything marked out. So after that, it was simply just waiting for my condition to be met to try and look for some sort of trade. So let's look at what happens. Okay, so I guess I did end up pretty much leaking the whole day, but so 9:30 opens up right over here. We have a bunch of targets higher, unmitigated gap lower, and pretty much right off market open, we end up doing absolutely nothing. You can see we start chopping around, ranging. So we did sweep out these sets of highs. So I was like, okay, maybe we won't get anything for the day. I was thinking about getting off, but honestly, I just decided to keep checking the charts every once in a while. If something happens, I'll get on. If nothing happens, then we'll just get off. But anyways, pretty much what ends up happening is we keep chopping around. NQ does finally tap into this hourly gap, start displacing higher. That's where I started looking for my entry as well. Let me show you guys also another reasoning. ES obviously, I believe, tapped deeper into its hourly gap. Right over here, ES held the hourly gap and it had a really strong flip, way stronger than on NQ. ES was extremely bullish, looking like it was going to start ripping, but obviously NQ is the leading asset still in this situation. On the higher time frame, we are more bullish on NQ than ES, but ES is just a good confirmation for me. All right, sorry, I just had a phone call, so I had to pick that up. Anyways, so obviously, as I saw, we did end up tapping right into that hourly gap. You can see we tapped it literally almost by a tick and start running higher. So this is right around the entry where around this area where I start scaling down to the 1 minute. You can see we got a really strong close on this candle. Wow, we had a 100 minute candle. I did not even see that in the moment, but pretty much what I saw was, okay, we're most likely going to run towards this set of highs right here. So at this point, I start pretty much looking for some sort of entry. Honestly, any entry here would make sense because it is literally what a continuation is. Tap into the gap, strong displacement out, targets higher. I was looking at this, but again, I cannot, in this situation, this stop would not be safe. We have a massive 1 minute gap below, and honestly, this gap is probably like 50 points without me even knowing. Yeah, so we have a 42 point gap below. So playing a stop, the only stop which would make sense would be right below the gap. And again, I'm not running a 100-point stop. That is generally ridiculous. So I was honestly looking for some sort of little pullback which I could enter on, which I did not end up getting. As you saw, we end up just ripping straight higher. So again, boom, we took this set of high out. We have other draws higher, but again, we also have now this brand new rejection high we just made. So again, I was simply just looking for some sort of confirmation that we might continue delivering higher. We end up chopping around, blah, blah, blah. I think we create a 5-minute gap. Yes, we do. We created a 5-minute gap, end up delivering into the gap right over here, tap into it, start reacting out. Now, realistically, this gap, the gap was created right over here. So we tap into the 5-minute gap. Same thing, 5-minute gap tap, 1-minute reaction out. I love these setups. You would think to yourself, Max, this gap is so tiny. Why the fuck do you care about this small of a 5-minute gap? And you're right, it's a 7.5-minute gap. It does not really, give me any confidence that gap is so small. Look at the 5-minute gap on ES. So this gap is way bigger on ES. Again, 5-minute gap is huge. We get a decent reaction out. So that is my confirmation. NQ and ES are both assets which are correlated. ES is the top 500 US tech companies. NQ is the top 100. So when NQ and ES have a move, they're both together correlated. So pairing both pairs together is a great confluence. So really simple. I see the 5-minute gap right over here. Entry was somewhere around this area. Stops were pretty much at the 5-minute gap. It really didn't make sense for us to, revisit this small of a gap if we held it and started having a wick out. So this was literally the trade I took, was some sort of idea like this. I don't remember the exact entry I got, but it was around a 1.4R trade. I went targeting a little bit above the high right over here. Break even point was just this random set of internal highs. You could have went break even here. It really doesn't make sense, like a 2-point difference. And you can see the trade does end up playing out almost instantly. So yeah, really simple trade. Honestly, not too much behind it. This was a more complicated trade, if you want to call that so and say, because a lot of trades I've explained is like, oh, market trend's going, we get a pullback displacement, which is exactly what this trade was. It was the same thing. It was market trend, condition, we tap into the condition, market trend, retrace, displacement. But also we had the correlation of assets that obviously you paired what ES was doing with NQ. ES at the time did look really clean, how we created this 5-minute gap and got a reaction out. But obviously NQ was the better pair to trade because it is more bullish. Risk is higher on NQ. So really simple trade right over here. Taken on 3 accounts. TP got hit really fucking quick. So we got 3 minutes this trade took. So yeah, really simple trade, around $750 across all the accounts. If you guys like these videos, please do like, comment, subscribe. Join my Discord, that is free. Obviously, if I can show you guys the Discord right over here, you just pull this up. Here is our free Discord. I am answering everybody's questions. I show everybody what I take. Free chat is booming right now. We have people asking questions. I'm in there answering all the time. You can ask questions, send your trades. I'm always down to review whatever you need. If you guys do want one-on-one, I do offer that as well. You can join my Discord, fill out the application. But other than that, I really do appreciate you guys watching the whole video, and I'll catch you guys later.